The cargo ship Gentle Dawn was 3 days from the nearest station when the distress signal arrived. Captain Park Soo-min looked at the blinking light on her console and felt her stomach tighten. In her 12 years of hauling freight between colonies, she had learned that distress signals in empty space rarely meant anything good. Origin? She asked. Her navigator, Yoon Mira, pulled up the data. Unknown vessel. Small. Maybe a shuttle. The signal is weak, Captain. They are drifting. Soo-min stood from her chair and walked to the main display. The Gentle Dawn was a simple ship. It carried medicine and farming equipment to the outer colonies. It had no weapons. Its crew of 5 was not trained for combat. They were workers, not soldiers. How far? Soo-min asked. 2 hours if we change course, Mira answered. First Officer Kim Jae-won stepped beside the captain. He was a tall man with kind eyes and a worried expression. Captain, we are in Veltari space. If that ship belongs to them, they will not want our help. The Veltari were one of the older races in the galaxy. They stood 8 feet tall with gray skin and 4 arms. They considered humans to be primitive creatures, barely worth noticing. The Galactic Council had only allowed humanity to join 50 years ago, and many species still looked at humans as children playing in the garden of their elders. If someone needs help, we help, Soo-min said. That is who we are. Jae-won nodded slowly. He knew better than to argue. The captain was small in size, but large in stubbornness. When she decided something, it stayed decided. The Gentle Dawn changed course. 2 hours later, they found the shuttle. It was damaged badly. Burn marks covered its hull. The engine was dead, and the life support was failing. Through the viewing port, Soo-min could see movement inside. Life signs? She asked. Choi Dong-hyun, the ship's medic, checked his scanner. 12. But Captain, the readings are strange. Some are Veltari, but others. I do not recognize the species. Survivors from different ships? Jae-won suggested. Maybe, Dong-hyun said, but his voice was uncertain. Soo-min made her decision quickly. Bring them aboard. Mira, keep scanning for other ships. Jae-won, you and Lee-hana meet me at the airlock. Engineer Lee-hana was already waiting when they arrived. She was young and strong, with grease-stained hands and a tool belt around her waist. She had been with the ship for only 2 years, but she could fix anything that broke, and some things that had never been broken. The airlock opened with a hiss of pressure. What they found inside the shuttle made all 3 of them stop breathing. There were 4 Veltari. They wore black uniforms with silver markings. They were alive but unconscious, lying against the walls where the impact had thrown them. But it was not the Veltari that made Soo-min's heart turn cold. In the center of the shuttle, locked in metal cages, were 8 small creatures. They looked like children. They had blue skin and large dark eyes filled with fear. Their bodies were thin, too thin, and covered in marks that looked like they came from medical tools. What is this? Hannah whispered. Soo-min walked forward slowly. One of the small creatures pressed against the back of its cage, trembling. It made a soft sound, like a cry for help in a language Soo-min did not understand. Dong-hyun, she said into her communicator. Get down here now. Bring everything. Captain, what is happening? Just come. She knelt in front of the cage. The creature inside looked at her with those huge dark eyes. Soo-min had never seen this species before, but she recognized fear. Fear was the same in every language. You are safe now, she said softly. I promise. The creature did not understand her words, but something in her voice made it stop shaking. It tilted its head and made a small sound. Behind her, one of the Veltari groaned and started to wake up. Jae-won moved fast. He grabbed a piece of broken metal from the floor and stood over the alien. Do not move. he said. The Velthary's 4 eyes focused slowly. When he saw J1 standing above him, his gray face twisted with anger. Human. He spat the word like it tasted bad. You dare to threaten a Velthary officer? I dare to protect my ship, J1 answered. And everyone on it. The Velthary tried to stand, but J1 pressed the metal closer. The alien stopped moving. What are these creatures? Su-Min demanded. Why are they in cages? Why do they have marks on their bodies? The Velthary looked at her with cold hatred. That is not your concern, human. This is Velthary business. These specimens belong to us. Specimens? Hannah's voice was sharp. They are people. They are children. They are property, the Velthary said. The Nefkai are a primitive species from the outer reaches. They have no standing in the Galactic Council. We acquired them legally for research purposes. Su-Min stood slowly. Her hands were shaking, but not with fear. With anger. Research, she repeated. You took children from their families for research. They are not children. They are test subjects. Now release me and return our property, and we will forget this happened. Continue to interfere, and your species will face consequences. Su-Min looked at the cages. 8 small faces looked back at her. They did not understand what was being said, but they understood enough. They knew the Velthary had hurt them. They knew they were afraid. She looked at J1. He gave her a small nod. She looked at Hana. The engineer's jaw was tight with anger. Donghayan, Su-Min spoke into her communicator again. When you arrive, treat the small blue creatures first. The Velthary can wait. Captain, you are making a mistake, the Velthary growled. No, Su-Min said quietly. I am making a choice, and I choose them. In that moment, in a damaged shuttle attached to a simple cargo ship, a war began. The Velthary did not know it yet. The Galactic Council did not know it yet. But humanity knew something that the older races had forgotten. Some things were worth fighting for, even when you could not win. The medical bay of the Gentle Dawn was small. It was designed to treat injuries from cargo accidents, not to care for 8 traumatized alien children. But Choi Donghayan made it work. He moved between the beds with gentle hands and soft words. The Nefkai children did not understand his language, but they understood his kindness. One by one, they stopped crying. One by one, they let him treat their wounds. Captain Park Su-Min stood in the doorway and watched. The smallest of the children, a girl with lighter blue skin than the others, had grabbed Donghayan's sleeve and would not let go. The medic did not try to make her release him. He simply continued his work with one hand. They were testing new drugs on them, Donghayan said without looking up. Pain medications, stimulants, things I cannot identify. Some of these children have been used for months. How bad? Su-Min asked. 3 of them have permanent damage. The others will heal, but the scars will stay. Both kinds of scars. Su-Min closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, her decision was clear. Can they travel? Yes, but slowly. No sudden jumps through hyperspace. Their bodies cannot handle the stress. Then we go slowly. She turned and walked to the cargo hold where they were keeping the Velthary. J1 had tied them to support beams with cargo straps. It was not elegant, but it was effective. The 4 aliens glared at her as she entered. You have made your situation much worse, the leader said. His name was Commander Torval, according to the identification they had found. Our ship was due at a research station. When we do not arrive, they will send search vessels. When they find you, your entire crew will be executed. Maybe, Su-Min said, but not today. You think this is funny? You think you can fight the Velthary Empire? Your species has been in space for less than 200 years. We have been building empires for 10,000. You are insects to us. Su-Min pulled up a crate and sat down in front of him. You know what is strange about insects? She asked. They survive. Asteroids fall. Climates change. Bigger animals come and go. But insects survive. They adapt. They endure. Maybe being an insect is not so bad. Torval made a sound of disgust. Human philosophy. Worthless. Tell me about the Nefkai, Sumin said. Where do they come from? Do they have families waiting for them? They come from a small world in the outer systems. Primitive. No technology. No defenses. We take what we need from them. They cannot stop us. Does the Galactic Council know? Torval smiled coldly. The Council knows what we tell them. The Nefkai have no voice there. They have no representatives. They are not recognized as a sentient species. But they are sentient. I saw it in their eyes. I heard it in their voices. Sentience requires technology, Torval said. That is the rule. A species must develop space travel before they are recognized. Until then, they are animals, resources, nothing more. Sumin stared at him for a long moment. Then the rules are wrong. Rules cannot be wrong. Rules simply are. Everything that exists can be changed, Sumin said. Rules, systems, empires, everything. She stood and walked out. Torval's laughter followed her. It was the laughter of someone who believed he had already won. Up on the bridge. Navigator Yumiro was waiting with bad news. Captain, I detected a hyperspace signature. A Valkyrie military ship just entered the sector. They are scanning for the shuttle. How long until they find us? 6 hours, maybe less. First Officer Kim Ji-won ran the numbers on his console. We cannot outrun a military vessel. Our engines are too slow. If we try to fight, they will destroy us in seconds. We are not going to run or fight, Sumin said. Then what? Hana asked from the engineering station. Su Dashman looked at the star map on the main display. She traced a line with her finger to a small dot near the edge of the screen. The Rilla station. It is 4 hours away. Neutral territory under council law. If we can reach it, the Valkyrie cannot touch us without starting a diplomatic incident. They might risk it, J1 warned, to cover up what they did to those children. They might. But inside the station, there will be witnesses. Representatives from a dozen species. Recording devices everywhere. If they attack us there, the whole galaxy will see. Mara looked at her console. The timing will be close. If they catch us before we dock, then we make sure they do not catch us, Sumin said. Anna, can you get more speed from the engines? The engineer cracked her knuckles. I can try, but I will need to do things that are probably illegal in most systems. Do them. Hana grinned and ran for the engine room. J1 moved closer to the captain. Sumin, he said quietly, using her name instead of her title. Are you sure about this? We could hand the children over, apologize, walk away. Could you live with that? He paused. Then he shook his head. No, I could not. Neither could I. The General Dawn turned toward Rilla's station and began to run. In the medical bay. The smallest Nefkai child was still holding Donghayan's sleeve. She had learned one word of human language. She said it now, looking up at the medic with those large, dark eyes. Safe? Donghayan smiled at her. He did not know if they were safe. He did not know if they would survive the next 6 hours. But he knew what answer she needed to hear. Safe, he said. I promise. She nodded and finally let go of his sleeve. She curled up on the bed and closed her eyes. Within minutes, she was asleep. Donghayan watched her sleep and made a silent promise to himself. Whatever happened next, he would keep that word. Whatever it cost, he would keep these children safe. In the engine room, Hana was taking apart systems that were never meant to be taken apart. She was rerouting power from life support, from lights, from everything that was not essential. The Gentle Dawn was not designed for speed. It was designed for reliability. But Hannah knew that sometimes machines could do more than they were designed to do. Sometimes machines were like the people who built them. Sometimes they could find strength they never knew they had. The engines roared louder. The ship moved faster. And in the darkness of space behind them, the Veltari hunters began their chase. The Veltari warship was called the Iron Judgment. It was 300 meters of gray metal and weapons. Its commander, High Admiral Kethso, had destroyed 17 ships in his long career. He had never lost a battle. When his officers told him that a human cargo ship was fleeing toward Rilla Station, he laughed. "A cargo ship," he said, "running from us. How amusing." "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "they are moving faster than expected. Their engines are operating beyond safety limits. Desperate creatures do desperate things. It does not matter. We will catch them before they reach the station. Increase speed." The Iron Judgment surged forward through the darkness. On the Gentle Dawn, alarms were ringing. The engine temperature was climbing toward dangerous levels. Smoke was starting to fill the engineering section. Hannah moved through it like a ghost, adjusting systems, tightening connections, whispering encouragement to machines that were giving everything they had. 3 hours to the station, Mira announced from the bridge. "But the Veltari ship will reach us in 2. "We need more time," Sumin said. "There is nothing more I can give you." Hannah's voice came through the communicator. "The engines are already dying. If I push them harder, they will explode." J1 looked at the tactical display. The Veltari ship was a bright red dot, growing closer every minute. "We could drop the cargo, reduce our mass. It might give us a few extra minutes." "The cargo is medicine for the outer colonies," Sumin said. "People are waiting for it. People will die if we do not reach the station, Captain." She knew he was right. She looked at the manifest. Antibiotics, surgical supplies, vaccines for children. 1,000 colonists were depending on the shipment. "No," she said. "There has to be another way." She stared at the display, searching for options that did not exist. The Veltari ship was faster, stronger, and had no reason to stop. In 1 hour, they would be in weapons range. In 2 hours, the Gentle Dawn would be destroyed, unless something changed. "Mira," Sumin said slowly, "what is between us and the station?" The navigator checked her maps. Empty space. Some asteroid debris from an old mining operation. "Nothing useful. Show me the debris." The display changed to show a field of floating rocks. They were scattered across a wide area, some as small as houses, others as large as mountains. Navigation charts marked the area as dangerous. Ships were advised to go around. "The Veltari will have to slow down to navigate through that," Sumin said. "So will we," J1 pointed out. "Will we?" Sumin looked at him with a strange light in her eyes. "We are smaller. We are more maneuverable. And we have something they do not." "What?" "A pilot who grew up flying racing ships through asteroid rings." Everyone turned to look at Mira. The navigator's face went pale. "Captain, that was 10 years ago. I was young and stupid. Were you good?" "I was the best in my system. But I almost died twice. The margins are so small. One wrong move and we all die," Sumin finished. "I know. I am not ordering you to do this. I am asking." Mara looked at the asteroid field. She looked at the Veltari ship on the scanner. She thought about the 8 children in the medical bay, with their large dark eyes and their wounded bodies. "Give me manual control," she said. The Gentle Dawn turned toward the debris field. Behind them, High Admiral Kethso received the report with confusion. "They are flying into the asteroids? Why would they do something so foolish?" Humans are known to be irrational under pressure, his tactical officer said. They probably hope to hide among the debris. They cannot hide from our sensors. Follow them in. The Iron Judgment entered the asteroid field at full speed. Mira's hands danced across the controls. The cargo ship twisted and turned, sliding between rocks that passed within meters of the hull. Her eyes were fixed on the display, seeing patterns in the chaos that no computer could calculate. "Rock coming from starboard," J1 called out. "I see it." The ship rolled left. The rock scraped against the shields with a sound like thunder. "Two more ahead. I see them." She threaded the needle between them, so close that the crew could see the mineral deposits on their surfaces. Behind them, the Valkyrie warship was struggling. It was too large, too heavy, too slow to turn. Their computer systems were advanced, but they were designed for combat, not for dancing through a storm of stone. "Admiral," the tactical officer said with fear in his voice, "we need to slow down. The collision warnings are overwhelming the system. Do not slow down. If we lose them now, they will reach the station." "But Admiral..." A small asteroid struck the left wing of the Iron Judgment. The impact was not serious, but it knocked the ship off course for 3 critical seconds. Another rock loomed ahead. The ship turned, but not fast enough. The collision tore a hole in the outer hull. "Damage report," Kev shouted. "Hull breach in Section 7. No casualties, but we are losing atmosphere. We need to seal the section and reduce speed." The Admiral slammed his 4 fists against his command chair. "Do it, but do not lose them. Follow them to the station if you must." On the gentle dawn, alarms were ringing for a different reason. One of the engines had finally given up. Smoke poured from the vents, and the ship began to lose speed. "Hannah!" Su Min shouted into the communicator. I know. Give me 2 minutes." "We do not have 2 minutes." "Then give me what you have." Mira kept flying. Even with one engine, even with the ship shaking around her, she kept finding paths through the rocks. Her hands were steady. Her breathing was calm. In her mind, she was 20 years old again, racing through the rings of her home world, feeling alive for the first time in her life. The end of the asteroid field appeared ahead. Beyond it, the lights of Rilla Station glowed like a promise. "Come on," Mira whispered. Come on. The gentle dawn burst out of the debris field and into clear space. Behind them, the Iron Judgment emerged 30 seconds later. Its hull was scarred and smoking. One of its weapon arrays had been destroyed by a collision. But it was still coming. "Distance to station?" Sumin asked. 20 minutes. "Distance to Valkyrie weapons range?" 15 minutes. They were not going to make it. After everything, after all the running and the flying and the hoping, they were not going to make it. But Su Min looked at her crew. She saw Mira, still flying with everything she had. She saw J1, checking damage reports with calm efficiency. She heard Hana in the engine room, refusing to give up. She thought of Dong Hyen in the medical bay, protecting 8 children who had no one else. "Then we fight," she said. "Captain, we have no weapons." "We have us," Su Min said. "And that will have to be enough." Rilla Station was home to 30,000 beings from across the galaxy. It floated in neutral space, a massive wheel of metal and light, where species who would never speak on their own worlds gathered to trade, negotiate, and sometimes even become friends. The station's charter was simple: no weapons, no violence, no wars. Inside its walls, everyone was equal. Station Master Vorthkel was a Rillith, a species known for their long necks and longer patience. They had built the station centuries ago as a monument to peace. When his sensors detected the damaged cargo ship racing toward them with a Valkyrie warship in pursuit, he felt his patience being tested. "Open a channel to the human vessel," he ordered. Sumin's face appeared on his screen. She looked exhausted but determined. Human Captain, you are approaching Rilith Station at unsafe speeds. You must slow down immediately. Station Master, I am requesting emergency docking. We have wounded on board, including children, and we are being pursued by a Veltari military ship that intends to destroy us. Vorith Kel's long neck swayed with concern. That is a serious accusation. The Veltari are members of the Galactic Council in good standing. Then ask them why they were performing illegal experiments on sentient beings. Ask them why they kept children in cages. Ask them why they are trying so hard to stop us from reaching you. The station master was quiet for a moment. Behind him, his officers were whispering urgently. This was the kind of problem that could start wars. But he had sworn an oath when he took this position. Everyone who reached the station would be protected. Everyone. Proceed to Docking Bay 7, he said. We will provide you cover. Thank you, Station Master. On the Iron Judgment, Admiral Kethso watched the exchange with growing fury. The station was deploying defensive shields around the cargo ship. If the humans reached those shields, they would be untouchable. Target the cargo ship, he ordered. Fire everything. His weapons officer hesitated. Admiral, we are in range of the station's sensors. They will record everything we do. I do not care. Those humans have evidence that could damage the entire research program. Evidence that could turn the Council against us. We must destroy them. Sir, if we attack a ship under station protection, it will be an act of war. Then it will be war. The Iron Judgment opened fire. The first energy beam struck the Gentle Dawn's rear shields. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew from consoles across the bridge. Mara struggled to keep them on course. Shields at 40%, J1 reported. Another hit like that will destroy us. Time to the station? Sumin demanded. 8 minutes. They will fire again in 30 seconds, Mira said. We cannot survive another hit. Sumin looked at her console. There were no weapons, no reinforcements, no miracles waiting to save them. There was only her ship and her crew and the impossible distance between them and safety. Then she had an idea. Hana, she said into the communicator. The engine that died. Can you make it explode? What? Captain, that would... Can you control the explosion? Direct it backward? There was silence on the line. Then Hannah started laughing. You want to use our own engine as a weapon. That is insane. That is completely insane. Can you do it? I can do anything. Give me 60 seconds. On the Iron Judgment, the weapons were charging for another shot. The tactical officer locked onto the human ship. His finger moved toward the firing control. The Gentle Dawn's damaged engine exploded, but instead of destroying the ship, the explosion was channeled backward through the exhaust ports. A ball of fire and metal debris shot toward the Veltari, warship like a missile made of desperation. The Iron Judgment's shields blocked most of it, but some pieces got through. They struck the weapons array, the sensor dish, the communications tower. Warning lights covered every console. What happened? The Admiral shouted. They used their own engine as a weapon, sir. We have lost targeting capability. It will take minutes to recalibrate. Minutes? They will be at the station in minutes. The Admiral watched helplessly as the tiny cargo ship limped toward the station. With one engine gone and the other failing, it was barely moving. But it was still moving. It refused to stop. Full speed, Kethso ordered. Ram them if you have to. They must not reach the station. The Iron Judgment surged forward on an intercept course. On Rilith Station, Vorith Kel watched the Veltari ship accelerating toward the human vessel. He understood what was about to happen. The Veltari were willing to commit murder in front of thousands of witnesses. They were willing to start a war to hide their crimes. He made his own decision. All station defense systems, target the Valkyrie ship, he ordered. If they fire again or attempt to ram, disable their engines. His officers obeyed immediately. 12 weapon platforms locked onto the Iron Judgment. Their targeting computers hummed with deadly precision. Admiral Kefso saw the weapons lock warning and felt something he had not felt in many years. Fear. Admiral, the station is targeting us. If we continue our approach, they will fire. They are bluffing. They would never risk conflict with the Valkyrie Empire over a human cargo ship. Sir, they are powering weapons. This is not a bluff. Kefso stared at the display. The human ship was so close to safety. Just a few more seconds, and they would be inside the station's protective shields. Just a few more seconds and everything would be lost. Admiral, we must stop. He closed his four eyes in defeat. All stop. The Iron Judgment slowed to a halt as the gentle dawn passed into the safety of the station's shields. On the cargo ship's bridge, no one spoke for a long moment. They had made it. Against all odds, against all logic, they had made it. Men J1 started laughing. It was a sound of relief and disbelief and pure human joy. We did it, he said. We actually did it. Su Min slumped in her chair. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was pounding. She wanted to laugh too, but she was too tired. Dong Hyan, she said into the communicator. How are our passengers? Scared but safe, Captain. The little one wants to know if we are there yet. Su Min smiled. Tell her yes. Tell her we are home. In the medical bay, Dong Hyan delivered the message. The smallest Nethkai child looked up at him with those large, dark eyes. She did not understand his words, but she understood his smile. Home, she repeated in her small voice. It was the second human word she had learned. The gentle dawn docked at Rilla Station, and the galaxy began to change. Princess Zaraline Vostarine stood on her balcony and watched her human husband work in the garden below. Daniel Carter was on his knees in the dirt, his hands covered in soil as he carefully planted small flowers from his home world. He talked to the plants in a soft voice, as if they could understand him. 6 months. She had been married to this strange, gentle creature for 6 months now. Zara remembered the day her father, Emperor Kelvarith, told her about the arrangement. Earth wanted to join the Galactic Council, and a marriage between a human and Valorian royalty would seal the alliance. She was the third princess, not important enough to refuse, but important enough to matter. She had expected many things from a human. The galaxy spoke of their home world with fear. Earth was a death world, a planet of extreme temperatures, dangerous animals, and violent weather. The creatures who survived there were supposed to be tough and deadly. But Daniel was none of those things. He was soft-spoken and kind. He smiled at everyone, from the highest noble to the lowest servant. He never raised his voice. He never showed anger. When insects landed on his arm, he gently blew them away instead of killing them. The Valorian nobles laughed at him behind his back. They called him the princess's pet and the harmless human. Some felt sorry for Zara, married to such a weak creature. Others thought Earth had insulted the Empire by sending someone so ordinary. Zara felt something she could not quite name. It was not love, not yet. But she felt protective of him in a strange way. And sometimes, late at night, she felt disappointed. She had read about humans. She had seen videos of their wars and their history. They were supposed to be survivors, fighters, creatures forged in the fire of their dangerous world. Daniel seemed like none of that. She walked down to the garden and stood beside him. He looked up and smiled at her, his brown eyes warm and gentle. Good morning, he said. Did you sleep well? Yes, she replied. What are you planting today? Roses. They're from Earth. They need a lot of care, but they're beautiful when they bloom. He held up a small plant with tiny thorns. Be careful. They can hurt you if you're not gentle with them. Zara almost laughed. Her husband, warning her about tiny thorns. She was a Valorian. Her people were stronger and faster than humans. Her skin could resist small blades. A tiny plant could not hurt her, but she said nothing. She simply nodded and watched him work. A servant ran toward them, breathing hard. Princess, your father calls for you. A diplomatic ship has arrived without warning. Zara frowned. Unannounced visitors were never good news. Who is it? The servant's face was pale. The Kreth Dominion, Your Highness. Zara felt ice in her stomach. The Kreth were a warrior species, violent and cruel. They had conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved countless beings. The Valorian Empire had an uneasy peace with them, but everyone knew it would not last forever. I will come immediately, she said. She looked at Daniel. You should come too. You are part of the royal family now. Daniel stood up slowly and brushed the dirt from his hands. Of course. They walked to the great hall together. Zara noticed that Daniel's face had not changed. He still looked calm and peaceful. Did he not understand the danger? Did he not know what the Kreth were capable of? The great hall was filled with tension. Valorian guards stood at attention, their hands on their weapons. Emperor Calvereth sat on his throne, his face hard as stone. And in the center of the room stood the Kreth delegation. Their leader was Warlord Graxul, a massive creature covered in dark scales and scars. He stood 7 feet tall, with 4 arms and eyes like black pits. He smiled when he saw the Emperor, showing rows of sharp teeth. Emperor Calvereth, Graxul said in his deep, rumbling voice. Thank you for receiving us on such short notice. You gave us no choice, the Emperor replied coldly. State your business, Warlord. Graxul walked slowly around the hall, looking at the decorations and the guards. We have noticed your new alliance with Earth. We wanted to discuss what this means for the balance of power in this sector. It means nothing to you, the Emperor said. Earth is a peaceful world. They seek trade and friendship, not war. Graxul laughed, a terrible sound that echoed through the hall. Peaceful, Earth? He shook his massive head. You do not know humans, Emperor. We know them. We have history with them. Zara stood beside her father's throne, with Daniel just behind her. She could feel her husband's presence, quiet and still. He had not moved or spoken since entering the hall. Graxul continued his slow walk, getting closer to the throne. His black eyes moved over the royal family, and then stopped. He stopped moving. He stopped breathing. His 4 hands began to shake. Zara followed. His gaze and saw that Graxul was staring at Daniel. Her husband stood calmly, his hands folded in front of him, his face peaceful and blank. You, Graxul whispered. The word was filled with something Zara had never heard in a Kreth voice before. Fear. What is your name, human? Graxul demanded, his voice cracking. Daniel tilted his head slightly. Daniel Carter. I am the princess's husband and a diplomat from Earth. Is something wrong, Warlord? Graxul stared at him for a long moment. Then he let out a shaky breath and turned back to the Emperor. Nothing. It is nothing. But Zara saw that his hands were still trembling. The meeting continued, but Zara barely heard the words. She watched Graxul, the feared warlord who had conquered worlds and destroyed armies. He would not look at Daniel again. He kept his distance from the human at all times. And when the meeting ended and the Kreth left, Graxul almost ran from the room. That night, Zara found Daniel in their chambers, reading a book about Valorian flowers. Daniel, she said carefully, that Kreth warlord. He seemed to recognize you. Daniel turned a page. Did he? I did not notice. He was afraid of you. Daniel looked up and smiled gently. That seems unlikely. I am just a diplomat, Zara. What would a warlord have to fear from me? His eyes were warm and kind, as always. His voice was soft and gentle, as always. But for the first time, Zara wondered what lay beneath that peaceful surface. She began to think that she did not know her husband at all.